Good evening and welcome to our Public Council meeting of June the 8th, 2020. I'm Mitchell Brownstein. I'm going to try to look for the gallery view. I have with me today Councillor David Torgman, Councillor Oren Sabag, Councillor Dita Burku, Councillor Mike Cohen, Councillor Sidney Benizri, Councillor Stephen Erdely, Councillor Mitch Kajafsky. We have the co-city manager and director of legal services, Jonathan Schechter. We have our city clerk, Jason Prevost. We have the associate city manager, Nadia DeFuria. We have the city manager, Tanya Abramovich. And we have also on the screen, Angelo Marino, our city treasurer. So those are the faces on the screen or the names on the screen tonight. We'd like to welcome you to this meeting. Before the first question period, I'd just like to make a couple of announcements. Today, we had a town hall meeting with the family members of Maimonides Hospital and Dr. Rosenberg and his team. It was a difficult meeting for sure. Things are not going very well in terms of the amount of deaths. I think there's 31 deaths now and many infected. The hospital has been turned into a hospital environment, and hopefully the control will go based on that. And thanks to our member of parliament, Anthony Housefather, a member of the National Assembly, who've been working very hard. The army is coming to Maimonides. They will be coming to assist with extra staff personnel and hopefully to contain the problem. And Councillor Burku, at any time or during the Departmental Reports, will give a full report on that town hall meeting. But we as the city are here with the families of Maimonides. That is the real difficult problem that we're having in our city right now. Things are going well in terms of the number of cases in Côte Saint-Luc. It's Maimonides that we're working on getting under control. We also, it's been a very active day for communication with the Direction de Santé Publique. A resolution was supposed to be passed today to ask for the mikveh opening, and I informed the Chantal Rouleau, the minister responsible, as well as the CCMU and the Directeur de Santé Publique, that we needed an answer today. We went back and forth, and finally we received an email that was sent out to all the religious organizations that have also been lobbying for the mikveh to be opening, and myself saying that the mikveh will be opening effective on June the 15th, which is good news for the community. I also have had a meeting, a telephone conversation with Dr. Kaiser, who's kind enough to call me after sending out that email to discuss the present situation for our religious communities, all religious communities, meaning of all faiths, and what is happening moving forward. And he informed me that there are plans in place that will be announced shortly with respect to phases for reopening concert halls and similar venues, which will include churches, mosques, and synagogues. And the manner in which those will take place will be forthcoming. He didn't give a timeline, but it's all in the plan. It all has to be done at the same time. So those type of initiatives are coming forward. And I also reiterated my request for a clear ruling on the right to pray under an open-walled structure, not a tent, not closed four walls, but an open-walled structure, which he said will be forthcoming shortly as well. So those were the big updates of the day. Always something new. The rules are changing each day. We're all listening attentively as the doctors of the world study the situation on COVID-19. I know the WHO announced on Friday different regulations and recommendations with respect to masks. One of them includes that they should be worn when you go into stores. So very similar to what we're doing here in Côte Saint-Luc with our bylaw. And I want to reiterate for the public, please be kind to each other. We're moving forward. It's a safer time. It is a safer time now. And it's up to each of you to understand that we're all doing our best. And the rules of our bylaw apply only to municipal buildings and to when you go into a store. That's the only time that you're required to put on a mask. Of course, we recommend that you do so when physical distancing is not possible, such as going into an elevator. But the bylaw deals only with stores and our municipal buildings. That's it for now. We're going to wait for the province and the world to lead on the rest. And they are, from the WHO, who made announcements on masks today, and waiting for leadership on the issue of not only masks, but all types of precautions and the ways to reopen safely that affect children, perhaps differently than teenagers, and perhaps differently than adults. And as we receive that information, we will adapt. Not the minute we receive it, but as we receive it, we will try to adapt. And our opening plans will change and they will be modified based on what we learn about this virus. Today, there's a different understanding of how it affects you outdoors than indoors. There's a different understanding on how it affects children and how it affects older people. So we adapt according to the information that the scientists and doctors around the world are obtaining each day. But I ask for kindness and understanding for your fellow neighbor. It's not a time to call the police and report your neighbors for what you might see as an injustice. Now is the time to be kind. I think everybody understands the rules, and the police have done their job at educating, and we as a city have done our job at educating, and we're all in this together, and it's going to be okay. So now we're going to move to the question period. The first question will be read by, and I leave this over to, as other cities have been doing, and we're following the Montreal AGLA rules. So Jason Prévost, our city clerk, will lead. Thank you, Jason.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I jump in the question period, I want to go through a bit more of the guidelines with regards to the question period going forward. So as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the province has allowed municipalities to conduct council meetings by way of video conference during the pandemic. It was strongly recommended for municipalities to include a question period within the process of the video conference. As mentioned by the mayor, the Montreal agglomeration has a specific procedure for written questions, and the city of Côte Saint-Luc is adopting the same type of procedure for its question period going forward. Residents can submit questions to the moderator of the live feed, which is our communications director, Darryl Levine, and they will be answered during the live feed of the council meeting. We've verified with other demerged cities, and this practice. So residents can submit questions by email at questionperiod@cotesaintluc.org until 5 p.m. on the day of council meeting. There's going to be a link on the website with the appropriate email. With regards to the second question period, the live chat will be opened, and the same rules that apply to our council meetings when they are done in public will apply as well to the live chat. So the live chat will be used for questions that are related only to items on the agenda, and the name of the resident in the question can be written in the live chat, and the mayor or a council member will then respond. Je vais répéter le message en français. La province a autorisé les municipalités à tenir les séances du conseil par voie de vidéoconférence pendant la pandémie. Il est fortement recommandé pour les municipalités d'inclure une période de questions dans le cadre de la vidéoconférence. L'agglomération dispose d'une procédure spécifique pour les questions qui sont envoyées par écrit, et la ville de Côte Saint-Luc a adopté la même approche que l'agglomération de Montréal. Donc, les résidents peuvent soumettre des questions au modérateur de la diffusion en direct, M. Darryl Levine, et nous allons recevoir les questions pendant la diffusion en direct et ils vont être répondues par le maire ou par un autre conseiller. Les résidents peuvent soumettre leurs questions par courriel à l'adresse période-de-questions@cotesaintluc.org jusqu'à 17 h le jour de la réunion. Pour la deuxième période de questions, nous ouvrirons la messagerie en direct sur le link YouTube et ça va être seulement pour la deuxième période de questions que le live va être ouvert. La deuxième période des questions, j'aimerais préciser, c'est seulement pour des questions qui sont liées à un point sur l'ordre du jour. Le nom du résident ainsi que la question doivent être écrits dans la messagerie en direct et le maire ou un membre du conseil fréquemment. So I'm going to jump in the question period right now. The first question was submitted by Vida and Oleg Schulman. La question a été soumise en français, donc je vais la lire en français. Pourriez-vous examiner notre requête concernant le nettoyage de l'avenue Centennial en installant des panneaux de signalisation de manière permanente? Plusieurs personnes sont au courant de cette situation, incluant le maire, le service des travaux publics. So that is the first question.
Could you repeat it again, please?
Yeah, so pourriez-vous examiner notre requête concernant le nettoyage de l'avenue Centennial en installant des panneaux de signalisation permanente? We're good?
Oui, j'ai trouvé des questions. OK. Nos 2 balayeurs de rue suivent un calendrier qui leur permet d'effectuer des balayages dans toute la ville en 1 semaine et demie. Cela signifie que nous commençons dans les parties nord et sud de la ville et que nous travaillons en direction du centre-ville. La couverture de toute la ville prend environ 1 semaine et demie. Centennial est inclus dans le calendrier, bien que Centennial ait un côté pas de stationnement. Nous attachons des panneaux orange d'interdiction de stationnement aux panneaux de stationnement existants. Ces panneaux sont installés 24 heures avant les opérations afin que les résidents aient la possibilité de se stationner ailleurs. Okay, the next question, please.
Okay, I'm going to read a series of questions right now that all relate to the same topic, which is the city policy on overnight on-street parking. So I'm going to read first a detailed question, and then for the purposes of the minutes, I'm going to repeat the names of the people that have the same question as this first questioner. So the question was submitted by Lionel Ross Deutscher. The overnight parking ban between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. has become a problem for many citizens of Côte Saint-Luc due to the limited parking on private property and for owners of rental properties who have limited number of parking spaces. The ban makes life difficult for families with multiple vehicles who require said multiple vehicles to get to work and home. The current pandemic in which the city of Côte Saint-Luc suspended the overnight parking ban for almost 3 months and allowed everyone to park their cars on the street demonstrates that the justifications given for the parking ban being security purposes or just clean the street between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. is simply nonsense. It is nonsense in the light of the fact that if you pay for an overnight parking permit, you can park on the street and the city does not clean the streets between these hours. Any argument concerning snow removal is also nonsense, as snow removal truck actually go around any parked vehicles, as the city does the snow removal without giving notice or putting up signs. The citizens of Côte Saint-Luc are heavily taxed, and we should have the right to park our cars in front of homes without having to pay an additional tax in the form of a parking permit. We should not have to worry every night if the car is registered with the system, or if we forget to register it or move it onto private property, we will receive a ticket. The need for the bylaw that bans parking between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. is no longer needed. I have started a petition that requests that the city of Côte Saint-Luc parking ban. It has received the support and signature of over 1,000 people who live in Côte Saint-Luc, and the petition is still growing at this time. The resident provided the link to the petition in his email. In the name of the said 1,000 people and more, we ask that you repeal the Côte Saint-Luc parking ban that is between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. as it does not serve the community's needs. We require that change as at this time be done. The demographics and lifestyles of family of Côte Saint-Luc have changed. Families simply have no more room, have more than one car. So the question is if the city will repeal the ban and respect the wishes of the citizens of Côte Saint-Luc. So I'm going to read just the names of the people that have submitted the same question for the purposes of the minutes. So the first resident was Nadav Sandroussi. Second resident was Ari Ben Cahoon. The next one, Sonia Cohen. The next one, Ariel Edery. The next one, Daniel Ross. Julie Gold. So that is the list of people that have the same question as that was read.
Thank you, Maître Prévost. I thank you all, those who asked this question, as well as all of those who have signed this petition. I understand that many of you may have been permit holders of parking passes for overnight, and I understand your concern and wish for change. And the issues during the pandemic, we've made a lot of changes during the pandemic in order to ensure that people who were forced to stay in their homes would not have to go out and move their car unnecessarily, and people working from home and so forth. But the reality is that the safety and security issues do exist. When we have the parking permit situation, public security is able to verify each and every car and ensure if a car is parked on the streets and it looks like a mysterious car that could be there for bad purposes, if it has a parking permit or not. If it has a parking permit or not, we know it's not a suspicious car. Then there's also the issue of cleaning our streets and snow removal. Those are the issues. I know everybody who signed the petition knows them. They might not agree with them. There's a large part of our population that does not want to have more cars on the street and isn't so thrilled that we even have parking permit. I've been on this council for 30 years. That whole idea of allowing people to park on the street didn't even exist years ago when we came to the a compromise situation where we gave out parking permits to allow people to park on the street, because we know there's an evolution and there's a need where people have more cars than they can park in their driveways. So we made that exception as people got more cars. I mean, originally people had one car for a household, then it became two, and then it's become three and sometimes more. So we do have the exception for people who have multiple cars to allow them to park on the street. But the general population overall in the city of Côte Saint-Luc likes the safety and security of our neighborhood and also wants our streets to be cleaned. So if there's anybody else on council who wants to add to that, you're welcome, but I don't think there's that much more that I can add. Okay, so we will move on to the next question.
Okay, the next question is from David Rosenbaum. The resident lives on the corner of Trent and Kingsley. His email mentions, I'm forced to change and or alternate the daytime parking of my car on the street 5 times a week from one side of the street to the other. Reducing these limits to twice a week, like the city of Montreal does, just across on Robert Burns Street, should leave enough time for the municipality to do the cleaning and or maintenance of the street. It will increase the limit parking, which is mainly used by the King David's residents, workers, and visitors. It will decrease the hustle of changing the parking sides every weekday, and of course will benefit the residents of this crowded neighborhood. Please consider changing the current limitations.
Okay, there's a no parking restriction from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on one side of Trent on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and on one side, on the other side, on Tuesday and Thursday. Now, this is a narrow block surrounded by apartments, and the sidewalks are narrow. So historically, it's been difficult to plow the snow from sidewalks in the area. And the alternate side parking restrictions were set up for 2 reasons. First, to give our snow plows the chance to properly plow snow during and after a snowfall. And second, to give our street sweepers the chance to properly clean the streets in the spring and summer. We try to balance making our public works operations efficient while not being too onerous on people living in the area. So that is the issue on Trent. And we try our best by having the alternate parking situation. But I'll ask the traffic committee to review the matter if there's anything that can be done. So I'll leave that to you, Councillor Georgeman. Okay, next question.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, if I could just add one more point on that one. So just to mention, Trent is actually, even though it's a very small street, one of the smallest streets in Côte Saint-Luc, it's one where we often have problems, in particular with the sidewalk plows to clean the snow, because there are a lot of cars parked on it, even on alternating days. So it is a tricky one. So I could tell you that it's one that I get complaints about in the winter when cars are, especially if cars are not following the law, but one that it's very hard to plow the sidewalk when cars are parked on that street because of how narrow the street is and the sidewalks as well. So just to mention, there is a definite reason in the winter to have that requirement.
Okay. Thank you. Maitre Prévost.
Yes, so the next question is from Toby Schulman. The question reads as follows. If you cannot social distance for 2 meters in hallways of condos and buildings or lobbies or laundry rooms, does the new bylaw of wearing masks apply? Will the buildings and condos be sent this information?
The bylaw does not apply with respect to obliging people to wear masks in those areas. It's a recommendation, and signage will be provided to condos with pictograms and information on the benefits of what they should do, including wearing masks in those areas. As I've said when we presented the bylaw, we wanted to make it simple and enforceable, which allows our urban planning department to do its job. So when it comes to condos, it's easy for them to check that hand sanitizing dispensers have been installed and that the signage has been put up. That's it. That's the only thing the condo has to do. Then it's up to you. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, it's up to each and every one of us. If we don't want another wave, if we don't want to pass the virus on to others, we have to try to be diligent, keep our social distancing, wash our hands, and wear masks when physical distancing is not possible. Now, if the province decides to create a law that would be opposable against the individual, then they'll lead on that. But for us as a city, we've done what we can with the resources we have. And when it comes to condos and apartment buildings, it's our urban planning department inspectors that are going to be able to enforce what we're able to do, which is signage and hand sanitizing dispensers. Next question.
Yes, the next question is from Adina Gordon. Now that the government said that Quebecers are allowed to hold indoor gatherings less than 10 people from 3 different households as of June 22nd, will this apply to condo buildings in Côte Saint-Luc?
Now that the government of Quebec is allowed to hold indoor gatherings?
Yes, that's what the question says.
Okay, no, I'm not aware of such a directive. The only directive is that Quebecers are allowed to hold outdoor gatherings of 10 persons, of 3 different households in their backyards or on their property. And that applies to green space outside a condo as well, but not indoors. Anybody interpret?
There's I think that the government announced today that as of June 22nd, that they will allow gatherings of 10 people indoors.
Indoors, okay. Well,
June 22nd.
So that would apply to condos, of course. It would apply to condos as anyone else. To my knowledge, right? Anybody hear anything different? You see, we get the news the same time you get it. So if it applies to an indoor, it applies to an indoor. It applies to a house, it applies to a condo. Okay, next.
Okay, the final question that I have here is from Mrs. Dahan. I would like to know the reason why the women's mikveh in Côte Saint-Luc was closed. Pools are open and there's multiple people swimming or playing together. Are we the only city that closed the mikveh?
Right. Well, we did not close the mikveh. It was the provincial authority based on the Direction de Santé Publique and the police enforcement. We didn't open it either. It got permission to open today, which is great news. What we've done all along is lobby for its opening in recent weeks, the last couple of weeks. We've been pushing for it because so many other things, as you mentioned, have been given the green light to open, including swimming pools. So once swimming pools were given the green light to open, there was no reason, in our opinion, for the mikveh not to be reopened. So it's open now. So that's good news. As of June 15th, it will be open. I want to thank this council for all our efforts together as a team working to lobby all levels of government in our own way and considering passing a resolution. We had it drafted. We were ready to pass a resolution tonight. And I was, as I said earlier in the meeting, back and forth with the Direction de Santé Publique, and he finally was able to get that approval sent out to the VAD and to all the religious institutions, and he copied me on it. And now it's all over social media that the mikveh will be open on June 15th. So yes, we played a part in that way. We used all our power to lobby the authorities and finally get an answer. But we're not responsible for opening it. We weren't responsible for closing it. Okay, any other questions?
That's it for the questions.
Okay, so now I need to get to my agenda. Technology. Let's see if I can do this. I have two screens open. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Councillor Kajewski.
Yes, the minutes are so moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by, do I see everyone? Gallery view. Councillor Cohen? Okay, Councillor Burku. All right, I see you guys now. So those are the minutes of May the 11th, May the 25th, and June the 1st, 2020. Moved by Councillor Cohen, moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Burku. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move on to item number 3, business arising from the minutes. Departmental reports. Councillor Ben-Israel.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Je propose que les rapports mensuels de département soient adoptés tels que présentés.
Moved by Councillor Ben-Israel, seconded by Councillor Burku. Any discussion on the departmental reports? Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it's been obviously an interesting time in talking specifically about the library. Everybody knows it's been closed. It's opening by appointment only on June 15th. So if you'd like to get books, there's on the website you can reserve, and then you'll get a pickup time where you can go and pick up your books. And it's going to go smoothly, but I'm sure the demand will be high, seeing as how we've been closed for a while. So please be patient, but get on the website and you'll be able to find your books and reserve your time. There's a tremendous amount that's available through the library with the staff. They've been doing a fantastic job. There was a lot of programs that are available. One of them is called Quarantine Movies. It's movies for kids, teens specifically. There's Virtual Magic, virtual reading corner for younger kids. There's book reviews, webinars, all kinds of things that are available, all virtually, of course, but I urge you to please check out the Eleanor London Côte Saint-Luc Public Library, and you'll find all kinds of resources to keep you busy and entertained. Thank you.
Councillor Torchman, I think it was Councillor Cohen, and then Councillor Sabac. Councillor Cohen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very pleased. I've been working with Ariel Davidson, I believe actually one of Councillor Torchman's constituents, and she approached me a few weeks ago to ask me if I could assist her regarding air conditioners for people, low-income families who don't have air conditioners in their homes, and if we could get used air conditioners. So I put a plea out on my blog, and we got our initial response. And Morris Jobby from Parks and Recreation, thanks to Cornelia Ziga, today went and picked up the first 3 air conditioners that we had donated. Stephen Adler from Almar Appliances donated 2 used air conditioners. Daniel Gal, a resident, donated another. Mo went and picked up the 3 air conditioners. He delivered them to the 3 very happy residents. 2 weeks ago, I had a used air conditioner that was basically collecting dust in my garage. I delivered it to one of my constituents who expressed their delight later on that day that they had this. So I know what it's like. I use window air conditioners in my windows, and when they break down, they don't work. It's terrible. So we're certainly looking for more people who have air conditioners or fans they don't need to donate. They can just email me at mcohen@cotesaintluc.org. and we'll arrange to have them picked up and delivered. And so thank you on that note. Just another point I want to bring up is on my podcast, I started a podcast a couple of months ago, and I'm focusing on all kinds of different things, but when I do see a local story, I'm jumping on it. I did a podcast 2 weeks ago on one of my former constituents, Jacqueline Stevenson, who's a occupational therapist at the MUHC, who did some very wonderful things during the COVID pandemic. And yesterday I did a podcast with Josh Cohen, one of my constituents who I met when he was 2 years old. He's now 16, and he got drafted Saturday in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League in the Blainville for the Blainville-Boisbriand Armada. And of course, you never know, if you make the Q, you could make the NHL. And I had a wonderful talk with them last night. It's on my podcast, which you could get at mikecohen.ca. And a final note is the Cats Committee very reluctantly had to cancel our concert for the fall. This is the first time. This is our main fundraiser. It's really our only really fundraiser. But first of all, I do not believe that the Wager Auditorium could be filled with COVID not gone by the fall. Also, in terms of planning, and also very difficult to get sponsors at this time. So we're going to convene the committee by Zoom very soon and try to come up with some alternative options in terms of fundraising. And my last note is the dog run is reopened. Everyone's very happy, especially the dogs. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen, and I want to congratulate you on your initiative with respect to the air conditioning units, Mike. I bumped into our staff person, Mo, today, and he was very proud to show me that he's been delivering those air conditioning units to those seniors that need them. And there's just so many wonderful initiatives that I see the members of this council have joined on to with members of the public, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. I just posted it on my blog, by the way, at mikecohen.ca with photos of the people receiving their air conditioners and Mo delivering them. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sabac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to quickly give an update on the wonderful blood drive that happened on June 1st from Héma Quebec. I reported that all appointments were taken, highly successful, and it was a great way to see how Héma Quebec was able to maintain sanitary conditions and make sure that people still contribute to this wonderful organization. So kudos to Héma Quebec for running this, and hopefully we'll have a chance to have a full blood drive hopefully next year. So stay tuned for that. You can always call Héma Quebec and donate at your convenience at one of their remote stations. So please don't wait. It's needed, and it's much needed these days as well. I know people are going outside, going back to work, doing their thing. It's clear and evident that things are slowly picking up and we are adapting to this new normal. I want to remind everybody the importance of making sure that we stay distant, that we wash our hands, and that we follow bylaw 2557 as much as possible when we're in public buildings. So again, truly important to wash your hands and take all of these recommendations in consideration. We are working to bring back EMS as soon as possible as well to service our residents. And we've looked at different programs as well for VCOPs. So all the VCOPs and all our volunteers at EMS that that stood on the sideline for close to 3 months now. Wanted to thank you and wanted to tell you that we're working very, very hard to get something going where you guys can get back on the road again. That's it for me. Thank you.
Councillor Sabac, yes, we definitely need to find ways in this new normal to use our wonderful volunteers. And I also wanted to announce, based on the public safety report from Councillor Sabac, that mobile testing clinic is returning to Côte Saint-Luc on June the 10th and June the 11th. Anybody who has any, you don't even need to necessarily have symptoms, but you might feel that you were in contact with somebody who had symptoms or was infected and be concerned that you're infected. So you can go to the mobile testing clinic at the corner of Mackle and Shalom. Basically, it's the parking lot at Trudeau Park for testing on Wednesday the 10th and Thursday the 11th of June, which is this week. Yeah, it's this week, later in the week. Okay. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To add to what Councillor Sabac mentioned, I wanted to remind residents with regard to parks and playgrounds being reopened, that parents should be keeping an eye on their children and remind their children, even when playing in parks, to do their best to maintain that physical distancing as well, to have their children wash their hands before and after. Keep in mind, right now the water fountains are closed, so residents should be bringing a bottle of water with them. And of course, as always, sunscreen and sun hats as usual. But obviously we want to make sure that children are safe, they're not spreading it to family members and friends. And one other thing I wanted to mention, sort of as a follow-up to what Councillor Cohn and Councillor Torchman did with their district meetings online. The rest of the councillors are looking into that, and I know I'm trying to find a date as soon as I can, and we'll be sharing with residents about more district meetings being done on Zoom as in small groups coming up in the next few weeks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Early. Brico.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bonsoir. Alors, la vie revient à la normale un peu, mais en même temps, on se rend compte que pour ceux qui sont dans des centres de personnes âgées, ce n'est pas la même chose. Et on a à Côte Saint-Luc la maison de vieillesse pour les personnes âgées, le Maimonide, où il y a plus que 350 patients, où il y avait plus que 350 patients. Et aujourd'hui, on a eu un town hall meeting avec le Dr. Rosenberg et le senior staff de l'administration du centre Maimonide. Et je voulais donner un petit rapport sur les statistiques qui prévaut là-bas, and also to talk a little bit about families and friends of Maimonides. So at the present time, according to the report we got today, there are 113 cases overall since COVID was first found at the Maimonides, which is April 9th, something like that, middle of April. There are 61 active cases. 18 people have recovered, and unfortunately 34 have passed away. So it's a very serious situation in our view. I am part of families and friends of Maimonides because my mother is there, and we had a very good meeting, I guess, at the town hall, because we asked a lot of very poignant questions. Some of them were answered, not all of them were answered, and we still have a lot of issues, outstanding issues that we need to have addressed. In the meantime, our MP Anthony Housefather and our MLA David Birnbaum have been very instrumental in bringing in the Army to come and help out at Maimonides. And hopefully that's going to give a little bit of relief to the wonderful staff that is doing heroes work there at Maimonides. Clearly, we need to move forward together, and we want the testing of all the staff, the testing of all the residents, and very rigorous controls on the caregivers that go in, because we want to keep our loved ones safe, and we want to keep the staff safe. The staff also is infected, and they're at the last count, I don't know exactly the number, but there were approximately 40 staff that were infected as well. So this is something that I'm following, because both as a counselor and as a daughter of someone who's there, and I wanted to give that report. On the other hand, in Côte Saint-Luc, I can tell you that our rates of infection have really plateaued, and that we are seeing very much of an improvement in our overall situation. So that's very promising. And we can tell that the residents are thinking about other things when the major topic of discussion is on-street parking. So now our council, and we see that the residents are now starting to think about how to move forward in the community. So that's basically what I wanted to report about, and merci. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burko. Any other reports? Good. Okay, no, I just have to follow up on what Dito was saying, though, because just to make this personal, and it is personal, each person is so important to our community. I know on Friday, my mom lost a dear friend and Maimonides, Jerry Singer. They're lifelong friends for 65 years. He was living with his wife happily at St. Patrick's Square, and a bed opened up in December, and he moved into Maimonides. And he was at our drop-in center in the Aquatic Community Center, and he always had a kind word to say and a smile on his face. And COVID took him, and these are the people that we're losing. Parents and grandparents. My friend Colin Singer, a fellow immigration lawyer, it's his dad, and these are the people that we're losing, and we lose them one at a time, and they're very special to each one of us, and they're members of our family. So we're all working together to try to do what we can for the people at Maimonides, and also for everyone in our city. And whenever we're doing something to protect ourselves, we have to remember that we're doing it not only for ourselves, but for our aunts and our uncles and our parents and our grandparents. Councillor Gajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief. I wanted to end on a positive note. So Parks and Recreation has been doing an incredible job to try to figure out what to do with our summer, to salvage our summer. So I'm not going to get into specifics now, but we have a summer series of activities that's coming up in the next, let's call it week to 2 weeks, that we're finalizing. Obviously, the rules continue to change on a daily basis. So we keep having, it's a moving target really on what we can do, what we can't do. But certainly we'll have some good news coming in the next couple of weeks for parents of school-age children who are going to have a long summer ahead of them to try to occupy their children. That said, I'd like to thank Parks and Recreation staff for all they're doing. Also, Mo Giobi, who's doing some work with Councillor Cohen, has been doing work with our grocery project also. We now have him officially booked for every Wednesday and Friday morning, so he'll be helping us to deliver groceries to seniors, which is great news. And thanks also to the Finance Department for helping with that project also, who have helped to make the whole operation more efficient. Without them, we would be doing half of the work we have been doing on a weekly basis for the seniors of Côte Saint-Luc. So thanks to our staff for all their hard work.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all the businesses. I've heard very, very good news from the public and from business owners on the use of masks in their stores and on the benefit to sales. And some businesses have told me their sales have gone up because of the fact that people feel safer going in there now. So it's looking good on all fronts, and I want to thank them for that. And in Parks and Recreation, I do want to thank our Director Cornelia Ziga. She's been working really hard, and I saw the different programming that a document with all the way different types of programming that they're going to be having every day in our parks. Of course, we hope to do more as authorities allow us and give us recommendations, and also our swimming pool. What an interesting way we're going to operate our swimming pool this year. We're just waiting for the Life Saving Society to give us the new rules on how to deal with individuals if you have to do artificial respiration in a safe. So there's different training that's going on, as we always train our lifeguards every year, but we need to know the new way to train them in that type of situation based on the COVID problem. But the documents and the diagrams of how they're going to allow people to swim is quite interesting. But I think we're going to be allowing up to 48 people in the pool in 8 different zones at the same time, and they're going to be able to come for a nice period of time. I'm not sure if we have the exact hours, and there's going to be lap swim in the morning and at night. So there is a safe way to do this. Yeah, Councillor Gajewski.
I just wanted to encourage the public to go and use our new social distancing circles in our parks. Get out, get outside. It'll help people keep separate. If you haven't seen it yet, Trudeau Park Diamonds 1 and 2, 2 and 3. I believe they're doing it at Singerman Park as well. And we're throwing around Kerwin Park and how we could possibly do that. But get out there, use the fields. There's circles drawn that are 10 feet apart or so. Get outside.
Yeah, go have a picnic, have a good time, and play some sports. Councillor Binisri.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le maire. J'aimerais juste mentionner le support de nos équipes des travaux publics pour vraiment la préparation un petit peu et l'ouverture des parcs. La plupart, comme l'a mentionné le conseiller Erderly, la plupart des parcs sont ouverts. Il nous manque, je pense, à peu près 5 parcs à ouvrir. Ils seront ouverts d'ici demain ou après-demain. Et je pense que c'est important juste de mentionner le travail qui est fait en arrière par l'équipe des travaux publics pour la préparation un petit peu de tous les espaces verts et vraiment si on veut, de la préparation finalement de nos espaces verts et de nos terrains de nos terrains d'activité à Côte Saint-Luc. Merci.
Merci, le conseiller Benisri. Anybody else? I think we're good. I think everybody had a little chance there. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the departmental reports? Carried unanimously. We move to item number 5, which is financial services. Councillor Erdely. 5A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc Council approves the interest rate on overdue balances as follows. Interest rate on unpaid municipal tax invoices and transfer duty invoices be revised to 5% per annum, daily effective June 30th, 2020, that the revised interest rate remains in effect until December 31st, 2020.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Burku. Any discussion?
So if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'll start by giving a bit of background and then talk about the current paradigm we're in. So first, just to summarize a few things that we've done in terms of ways to help or accommodate residents in terms of the financial situation related to COVID-19. So the first thing is we extended the deadline for the second installment to June 29th. Originally, it was due just over a month earlier. We gave an extension also to residents who had transfer duty or welcome tax, who had received welcome tax from middle of March up until just a few weeks ago, and any new bills that came since the beginning of COVID-19 have been pushed back till June. So they have an extension also till June 29th. We've also done a reduction in interest rates. Originally, we reduced it just until June 29th. So we dropped the interest rate from 10% to 5%. And today what we're doing is proposing to extend it from June 30th to the end of the year till December 31st. Now, one of the topics that has come up in the news recently, and I've read on Facebook as well, is the City of Montreal has extended their deadline for the second installment of September to September 1st. Now, when Montreal extended the second deadline originally till the end of June, early July, they agreed to extend the deadline for Côte Saint-Luc to pay Montreal our second installment, which made sense. But for whatever reason, which makes no sense to me or any of the demerged cities, they have decided not to extend our payment for our second installment for what they call our quote-par, or our payment to the agglomeration. To give some rough numbers, Côte Saint-Luc takes in, let's say, has a total revenue of about $70 million. Of that 70 million, 30 million roughly is what we pay to the agglomeration. And it's paid in 2 installments, roughly $15 million each. So we have to pay our installment, our next installment, on July 1st of $15 million. Our hope was that they would say, we can push that off till September 1st or end of August, which would have allowed us to do the same for our residents. But because Montreal hasn't, we're not able to. And again, giving rough numbers, we have about $16 million in the bank. So if we have to pay $15 million to Montreal and we don't get any tax revenue, of course, Côte Saint-Luc won't have enough money. So that's going to be a tremendous problem. And that is why at this time we cannot. Now, I know the mayor and the mayor of the demerged cities are working with Montreal. If they're able to make concessions, or Montreal is able to make concessions within the next week, then we may be able to change this. But the problem is, it's not a simple task. It involves, because we know a lot of residents have already sent in their checks, already post-dated checks. So it's not a simple process. So we're hoping Montreal will make a concession, but if it doesn't happen very soon, it'll be impossible for us to extend our second installment beyond June 29th. So I hope that's clear. And I'm ready to move this motion.
Okay, Councillor by Councillor Burku. Any further discussion? Councillor Burku?
Oui, alors je veux juste ajouter qu'effectivement, la Ville de Montréal est en train d'utiliser l'argent des payeurs de taxes des villes liées, c'est-à-dire Côte Saint-Luc, Westmount, Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue, Montréal-Est, les 15 villes liées. C'est des centaines de millions de dollars qui sont collectés et qui refusent de reporter au 31 août, et ils vont utiliser nos payeurs de taxes, ils vont sur le dos des revenus que nous allons donner à l'agglomération, ils vont donner une suspension, ils vont donner un aide à leurs propres payeurs de taxes. Et c'est vraiment de l'hypocrisie, en fait, de fonctionner comme ça, de dire à leurs payeurs de taxes, vous avez jusqu'au 31 août, mais de dire aux villiers, non, non, vous devez payer le 1er juillet, ou je pense que c'est le 2 juillet qu'on doit donner notre quote-part. Je trouve ça vraiment déplorable. Et malheureusement, on est pris dans cette situation et on n'a pas le choix. Et on doit, à cause de ça, collecter nos taxes municipaux le 29 juin pour payer notre quote-part le 1er ou le 2 juillet. Alors, c'est très clair ce qu'ils sont en train de faire, mais c'est la situation et on doit la vivre exactement comme elle nous est servie. Alors, je maintiens la résolution et j'appuie ce qu'on est en train de faire et c'est malheureux, mais c'est comme ça.
Et tous les villes liées travaillent ensemble avec Benny Messala, qui est le président de notre association, pour essayer de pousser la date du paiement de notre quote-part. C'est après 14 millions de dollars au 1er septembre aussi. Mais sinon, on n'a pas de choix. C'est comme la ville de Montréal prendre notre argent comme une prête sans intérêt pour payer toutes ses dépenses. So it's like they're getting an interest-free loan from us to get all the money, the 14 million from us and from all the other demerged cities, and they'll use it for their purposes. So without us having that benefit as well. So they're using all the demerged cities' money, all your money to
for the agglomeration, for fire, police, water, and everything else, but they're giving them a break, and our money has to be,
entire aglo services with our money.
Right.
So that's where we're at, and maybe we'll change. If it does change, we'll let you know.
I think it's a little bit late for that.
Yeah, just maybe to reiterate, as absurd as it is, the problem with them stalling, and if they were to change it very soon, that would be beneficial. But the problem is, the longer they wait, the more difficult it becomes for us in the demerged cities, because we're talking about thousands of checks that have to be processed and reprocessed. So we hope that they will come to their senses and realize that it is absurd. But if it doesn't happen very soon, it'll make it very, very complicated for Côte Saint-Luc.
Yeah. Right. Well, June 29th is around the corner. Okay, so moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to the next item. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just pulling up the document. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of May 1st, 2020 to May 31st, 2020 for a total amount of $4,120,521.55, and that Treasurer Certificate number 20-0069 dated June 1st, 2020 has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to availability funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Burku. Any discussion, Councillor Erdely?
So just to mention some of the larger items in this, we have a capital bond repayment. We also have a return check. We accidentally processed a check that was due on the earlier due date. So we are refunding that check, and they'll be reprocessing, getting us a new check before June 29th. And we had a payment for, actually it was a final payment for road resurfacing that took place last summer. So those are some of the key items in the disbursements for this month.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Burku. Any discussion further? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Disbursements are passed, and we moved on to item number 6, Human Resources. Councillor Burku. Item 6, Councillor Burku, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. Well, here we go. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the hiring of Jacob Stolarek, effective April 22nd, 2020, and Xavier Gendreau, effective May 19th, 2020, as on-call public security agents, white-collar auxiliary positions, and that a treasurer's certificate 20-0068 dated May 29th, 2020, has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Thank you, Councillor Berku, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
These are public security agents that we're hiring for the position of.
Or vacation time.
For
Vacation time replacements.
Oh, that's what it, okay, vacation time replacements. Thank you. Thank you.
Seconded in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and we move on to the next item, Councillor Berku.
Okay, here I am.
B and C.
Right, got it. So B and C. Be it resolved that City Council approves the decision made on May 8th, 2020 to suspend without pay Public Works employee number 2349, effective May 8th, 2020, pending an internal investigation.
Moved by Councillor Berku, seconded by Councillor.
And I think I want to do these two together. And be it resolved that City Council approve the termination of auxiliary blue collar employee 2349, effective May 28th, 2020. So both resolutions joined, and we can vote on them together.
Moved by Councillor Berku, seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion?
So this termination of an auxiliary blue collar employee, first there was a suspension and then a final termination as of May 28th, 2020, all for cause, which was explained to us in caucus, as it is a human resources matter.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now we move on to legal. 7A, Councillor Berku.
Oh, me again. Sorry, I don't know why.
Lady.
Okay, bon, j'arrive. C'est le... To see if there's a French version. Oui, d'accord. Alors, c'est les services juridiques du greffe. Il est proposé d'autoriser la technicienne en gestion des documents et archives à signer toute modification au calendrier de conservation relative à l'addition de nouveaux documents, délais de conservation ou relatifs aux documents destinés à être conservés de manière permanente et à soumettre ces modifications à l'approbation de la Bibliothèque et les Archives nationales du Québec pour et au nom de la Ville de Côte Saint-Luc.
Proposé par le conseiller Berku et appuyé par... Councillor Sabag. Okay.
Okay, so this is basically a resolution which obliges us to adopt a record retention schedule, like how long do we have to keep records of medical, reports or legal documents, etc. So we're just changing the schedule of how long we have to keep these documents, and we're submitting them to the Bibliothèque et Archives nationales du Québec for approval.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to item number 8, which is Parks and Recreation. Councillor Kajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just pulling it up. It resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby awards a contract for the maintenance of 2 refrigeration systems at the Samuel Moskowitz Arena to Simcoe Refrigeration for the period between March 1, 2020 and May 31, 2022 for a total amount of $38,826 plus applicable taxes. The Treasurer's Certificate number 02-0070 dated May 30, 2020 has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion?
Well, it's self-explanatory. It's for the maintenance contract related to the new refrigeration systems that were recently installed at the arena, which hopefully we can get open soon.
We're going to be skating indoors and outdoors, maybe 6 feet apart, but we'll be skating. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we moved on to urban planning, number 9, Councillor Burke.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry. All right, so
That's me, right? 9A?
9-1A, yes, that's you.
9-1A, Councillor Torgman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That I give, so there's a notice of motion and a tabling. So I'll read the notice of motion first. That I'm giving a notice of motion that bylaw number 2539-1 be entitled Bylaw to amend bylaw 2539 to consolidate the existing tariffs for the city of Côte Saint-Luc in order to eliminate the deposits required for street excavation. Will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. That I move the object of the scope of the bylaw 2539-1 be entitled Bylaw to amend bylaw 2539 to consolidate the existing tariffs for the city of Côte Saint-Luc in order to eliminate deposits required for street excavation. Now I'm sorry, now I have to deposit the notice of motion. Que je dépose le projet de règlement numéro 2539-1 à être intitulé Règlement amendant le règlement 2539 pour consolider les tarifs existants de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc afin d'éliminer les dépôts requis pour l'excavation de rues.
Thank you, Councillor Torgman. So that's a notice of motion and tabling. There's no seconder needed. Thank you very much. And now we move on to 9.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I just explain that quickly?
Go ahead.
I want to thank Councillor Kujanski. When he had the portfolio, we worked on collectively as a council for this motion. There was a requirement for residents when they needed to change their water or sewer connection to excavate into the street. Now the cost associated to the sidewalk and street repair following the work was a significant amount. And this we've decided to eliminate the deposit required for the street and sidewalk portion. And the city will be taking over those costs as part of our general street and sidewalk repair work. So it alleviates a bit of a burden for the residents who are doing this kind of work. And I think it's a good move by this council.
Thank you, Councillor Kujanski and Councillor Torgman.
I just want to mention that when Councillor Torgman says significant, I mean, I think, it's good news when council is giving the residents a break of $4,000 for detached and semi-detached single and 2-family dwellings, or $10,000 for other classes of uses. I mean, we listened and we think that it's, relevant to give people a break since they're having to fix their own sewer lines, that we're going to pick up the cost of the asphalt and the concrete.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to also thank David, Councillor Torgman's work with me on this as well, and engineering for preparing the specs on this, because it was not an easy road.
Thank you, Charles Senecal, and your whole team. Okay, so that was a notice of motion and tabling, so there's no vote, but we will hear about it again. Now we're going to move on to 9.1, which is urban planning, and it's Councillor Burke.
Right. Okay. So the first one is a site planning and architectural integration program received February 27, 2020, showing the construction for the identification of tenants of a double-faced illuminated pylon sign with a total area of 60 square feet to be facing Cavendish instead of the maximum area of 20 square feet per sign on lot 1561095 of 5757 Cavendish. That's at the corner of Kildare, and prepared by International Neon Contractor for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of March 26, 2020, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
So that's moved by Councillor Burke, and it's seconded by, I think it's in Councillor Cohen's district.
Right.
Councillor Cohen, any discussion?
So this is just a neon sign and at the corner of what used to be known as the police headquarters, now is the Royal Bank building at the corner of Cavendish and Kildare. And I just want to mention for the record that next Zoom meeting, we really should have the the perspectives to post online. So, oh, there it is. Look at that. Ah, very good. Thank you.
It was there.
Thank you. So there it is. So it's going to be at the corner, and we are giving an exemption because it's a little bigger than what is allowed, but we felt that it was appropriate since, you know, people want to see the signs and we want to promote our local businesses so that they can know who was in the building. Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. The next one, please. So it was moved and seconded. Did we vote on it? All in favor? We did. All in favor? Carried. Now we go to B.
Okay, so that's 6607 Côte Saint-Luc Road. So this is very simply, this is a site planning or architectural integration program received May 14th, 2020, showing the brick replacement on the east and west facade sides of an existing multifamily dwelling on lot 156-1194 at 6607 Côte Saint-Luc Road. That's just before, it's just like across from Walkley. For the Planning Advisory Committee meeting May 19th, 2020, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14, Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc. And let me go see. Yeah, there it is. So this is very, just to allow brickwork to be done on the building. And we're approving it. There's nothing controversial there.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor of the District, which is Councillor Svat. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And now we move to the next item, 9.2A, minor exemptions.
Okie doke. So we're back to, oh, here's Westminster, 9.2A. I'll read in English. That in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 5751 Westminster, lot 105-2595 being is hereby approved. The whole is more amply delineated hereunder. The request in order to allow an existing detached single-family dwelling built in 1959 under permit number 920 to be located at 14.83 feet from the southeast side land line, which is facing Kildare Road, instead of the minimum required secondary front setback of 15 feet. So there's about, 17 inches that are missing there. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw 2217 Annex B.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Carried. And now we move on to the next item, which is,
So this, we're back to 5757 Cavendish, because now we are giving a notice, passing resolution for the minor exemption. First, we approved the plan, and now we're approving the minor exemption, que conformément aux dispositions du règlement G18-005, qu'une demande de dérogation mineure concernant une propriété localisée au 5757 Cavendish soit et par les présentes approuvée, le tout tel que plus amplement décrit ci-dessous. La construction d'une enseigne pylône lumineuse à deux faces d'une superficie de 60 pieds carrés face au boulevard Cavendish au lieu d'une superficie maximum de 20 pieds carrés par enseigne. Et B, l'installation d'une enseigne non lumineuse sur le mur près de l'entrée principale du bâtiment, le tout nonobstant les dispositions du règlement de zonage 22-17, article 9-1-3 G et 9-2A et 9-3-2.
okay, moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Cohen, I believe. Councillor Cohen. Any more discussion on this one? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. And now we move
I
on.
think I have to thank Councillor Erdely for sharing his screen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now we move on to item number 10. Councillor Sabak. Stance on the ag law. Or whoever has it.
Sorry, I was on mute. That council take the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meeting to be held in July 2020 as follows: to authorize the mayor and his duly authorized replacement to take any decisions he deems necessary and in the best interest of the city of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the Agglomeration Council meetings to be held in July 2020 based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Sabag, seconded by Councillor Torgman. Councillor Burku. Yes?
Well, since you're going to the Aglo, you will for sure give them our comments with regard to their position
Absolutely.
to take our money to finance their
Grandma,
activities.
exactly.
I'm sure you'll represent us well.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? It's carried, and we're going to move on to other business. Any other business? So, second question period. Maître Prévost. Maître Prévost, do we have any questions? Maître Schechter, do we have any questions?
I have not been submitted any questions unless Director Levine may have some or have seen any.
Yeah.
We don't have any.
It was just no questions on YouTube chat yet, so it's on our chat room here. None.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, sorry, I was having technical difficulties. There are no questions in the YouTube chat so far.
Okay. So if there's any questions on any agenda item, this is your chance to just send them in and we will try to answer them. Otherwise, we will move on. Okay. So I will move for an adjournment.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. So moved.
Bag, seconded by Councilor Kajowski. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.